This is Jeff Baraka for Planet Boom. This is part one of a three-part conversation with music genius Thomas Dolby. We caught up with him on a fall day in Chicago during the North American leg of his Invisible Lighthouse tour. Here in part one, we focus on the backstory of the project.
How goes it, sir?
Pretty good. Good to see you.
All right, excellent. Yourself as well.
Yeah.
Let me ask this. We're here for the Invisible Lighthouse tour. The advanced version that you let me get a look at, it's kind of poignant, it's kind of melancholy, it tackles issues of memory and consciousness. There's aliens and espionage, and obviously it's centered around this place that you are from. Mm-hmm. And I'm very curious, how does the landscape of the Suffolk coast, how does it impact your soundscape?
You know, it's a very unusual piece of coast because it's facing Europe. So anytime there's a war on, it's the front line.
Sure.
So you see remnants there of defenses against Vikings, Napoleon, the Germans, and they're just sort of melting into the beach because it's not a highly populated area. And the North Sea washes down towards the English Channel, and these very small stones that the beach is made of basically just sort of, shift back and forth. And so there've been many villages down the coast that have disappeared over the centuries.
Wow.
And where I am is a little bit doomed, but an icon of where I live is this lighthouse, which I've seen it flash on my wall since I was a little boy.
Sure.
And this has now been closed down this year because it is at threat from the sea. From the North Sea. And,
is it just going to tumble into the sea?
Well, eventually it will, but they had to first decommission it, get the mercury out of there, because lighthouse lenses sit in a bed of mercury, so it's pretty dangerous. So they had to get that out. And it turns out that there are many lighthouses around Britain and around the USA as well that are doomed and won't be saved because they're no longer needed from a functional standpoint. Because you got better navigation on your smartphone, than you can get from lighthouses. But at the same time, it made me very sad, A, because I've known it all my life, and B,
that's the melancholy.
Yeah, that's the melancholy part. And because, the atmosphere of that coast has really influenced my songs over the years. So it was, the poignancy, I think, comes from that I have a very strong attachment to it.
So the atmospheric, the kind of isolation, the kind of hauntingness, I guess, is that what that area invokes kind of in your music?
Well, yeah, I have strong family ties in the area.
Sure,
going back
that's
generations.
also what I want to hear.
You can see buildings if you walk or drive around that were built by my great-grandfather.
Certainly.
And a lot of my childhood memories are wrapped up in it. But childhood memories become distorted. We filter them, we believe what we choose to believe.
Certainly.
And many of the memories that I have there are sort of messed up in a lot of ways. And so to go back and explore my family history through the eyes, if you like, of this lighthouse really got me to wondering how much of it was real and how much was just a phantom. And interestingly, there's some other stories, related to the lighthouse that tie in,
right.
including one about Britain's most notorious UFO sighting, which is at Rendlesham Forest in 1980, when 3 US servicemen actually believed that they encountered and touched a flying saucer in the woods, whereupon it broke up into blobs of mercury and disappeared into the darkness. But as it turns out, over the years, their story has become more elaborate, which you might put down to them just sort of bigging it up, so they'd be more popular at sci-fi conventions. But the truth is that, eyewitness testimony is often not very reliable, as you know from criminal cases and so on. And so I think that we have a tendency to evolve our memories to suit ourselves, over a period of time. And that's what the film is really an exploration of.
And that's what I was going to ask you. There's so much going on there's so much going on in this. It's very layered. Mm-hmm. So it's autobiographical, and I like how you weave your personal history into the history of the region. How did you decide to approach it like this, or did the story kind of just tell itself? Parts of it are like a documentary, like a travel show almost, like you're just kind of traveling around showing us stuff. And then other parts then you use as segues and tangents to go into these other ideas of memory and consciousness and like that. How did you approach this, or did you just let it tumble out?
Well, I started off the film actually just talking to my iPhone.
Sure.
I just wander around the neighborhood, just, muttering random ramblings into my iPhone.
Sure.
My plan had been to get a professional crew and to do it like a documentary.
Okay.
But I spent a day with a professional camera person, and it was perfectly framed and focused and lit and everything. But it had lost something, and what it had lost was this confessional quality that the iPhone stuff had.
Certainly.
So I decided I was going to do it myself. So I bought some slightly more sophisticated kit, including GoPro cameras on sticks, and quadricopter that I can fly with my phone, which has an HD camera.
There's
in
a
it
cool
to do aerial
scene
stuff.
in the film where he's flying the camera. You gotta see it.
And I taught myself to edit on my laptop, and I put the film together myself. And I've always been very DIY, you know, even from the early days of electronic music, you know, when there was no guidelines really, you know, so you couldn't help but feel like a pioneer, because there's only half a dozen people foolish enough to tackle these great hulking machines that wouldn't stay in tune, you know. So I just approach filmmaking in the same DIY spirit as I have music and video and so on.